We're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's July 12th here in Seoul. I'm Shin, and this is News Generation, where we make the news at Arirang's very own open studio. Every morning, we'll discuss the top issues and latest current affairs affecting people in their 20s and 30s. Joining me in the studio is Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
And Park Ki-hoon.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As usual, let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. You may want to think twice before touching these cute, cuddly cats out on the streets. Recently, a woman in her 40s was diagnosed with SFTS, short for severe fever with thrombocytopenia syndrome, after touching a stray cat on Jeju Island. She's the first person to have caught SFTS this year here in Korea. Main symptoms of this viral infection include nausea, diarrhea, and high fever. Fatality rates are also high at over 16% with no specific vaccine or treatment. And as we've discussed before, South Korea has a very heated private education scene. Kids as young as toddlers who haven't even entered elementary school receive private education. As a matter of fact, a study found 2 out of 3 receive Korean, math, and English lessons, especially those living in the Greater Seoul area. Compared to those living in the provinces, receiving private education was 3 times more common for children living in the capital area. Moving on, inflation has raised living costs to yet another high here in South Korea. The price for bottled water has reached the highest level in 11 years on Monday. Statistics Korea found that the consumer price index for 1 bottle of water increased by 10.8% on month. We're going to take a look at why it's getting harder to buy water at cheap prices in Korea now. The price rise comes amid the nation's biggest bottled water manufacturers raising their prices. Conglomerates like Jeju Samdasu and Lotte Group are finding it hard to manage costs. And Kyun, I'm wondering, you live alone, right?
With my brother. So
with your brother,
almost
so you
alone.
live with your brother. And you must be ordering water in. Did this news affect you in any way?
Luckily, it didn't.
Oh, really?
Because the bottled water that I get delivered every month is from another company. But this company raised its prices back in 2018 by 7.8%.
Oh.
But back then, obviously, I didn't get delivered from this company.
Right.
But I think rising prices during inflation is inevitable. And the most concerning factor is that some prices, when they go up, they don't go back down to its original market price, just like food prices and, of course, maybe water prices.
Yeah.
But I think, inflation is right now affecting the livelihoods of so many individuals, including us, but also the conglomerates like big companies and, of course, the government. So I think at times like this, we should really kind of work together instead of just playing the blame game.
Yeah, the
like,
blaming
it's their
game.
fault, it's not our fault, we're just suffering. So I think, we should all work together.
We need to take in the reality and find actual solutions.
Right.
But also, we mentioned, I think the question I asked you was funny to our international viewers because we buy plastic bottled water a lot here in Korea, right? And we were mentioning in the reading that in other parts of the world, we drink a lot of tap water, right?
Especially in Sydney, I'm pretty sure they still drink a lot of tap water, so they're not really used to buying bottled water. And even if they do, it's really expensive, especially in restaurants.
Exactly.
And they just ask for tap water, which is totally fine.
And Walter, you're also from Australia. So hearing this news, how did this affect you?
Yeah, well, now I've lived in Korea for so long, but like these days I try to carry around my tumbler.
That's a really good habit.
Yeah, so usually our workplaces, they have some sort of water coolers, so it's really convenient.
Yeah.
But I also use a Brita at home as well, so I try not to buy bottled water. I sometimes forget. I feel a little bit silly when I buy bottled water.
Really? Why is that?
Because like I'm so used to the Australian way of when, you just get it out of the tap and it costs free kind of. You pay your water taxes, but it's just so different from when I used to grow up and just drink it out of a hose sometimes. So,
really?
Yeah, really.
Wow.
In Australia, that's what we do. We drink out of the garden hose.
We do.
It sounds dirty, and it is dirty, but it's a normal thing in Australia.
And here in Korea, I'm not really used to drinking tap water. I'm so used to drinking plastic bottled water. But I know it's so bad for the environment. So maybe I'll try holding a tumbler like you once in a while.
But also, like in Seoul, it's actually safe to drink tap water.
I know.
In most parts of Seoul.
Yeah, we have really good water quality. So hopefully this news story can change up our daily habits. And that was our news feed for this Wednesday. Let's now head into our main discussion topic of the day. Did you know it's illegal to get tattoos from non-medical personnel here in Korea? Nonetheless, we still see so many tattooists and advocates in the country. Then what should be done about it? Take a look at the screen to find out. 220,000. That's how many tattooists and beauty technicians were in Korea back in 2017. This figure is likely on the rise, with people becoming more open about tattoos and using them as a medium to express themselves. But according to Article 27 of the Medical Service Act, tattoos can only be done by licensed medical personnel here in Korea. It's been like that since a Supreme Court ruling in 1992. Yet it hasn't stopped thousands from getting tattoos from non-licensed practitioners in Korea. Which is also why Representative Yoo Ho-jung of the Justice Party is actively trying to pass a bill she proposed to the National Assembly. That is to liberalize the strict regulations on tattooing. Today, NewsJet aims to answer 3 questions. 1. What does our generation think about tattoos and tattooing? 2. What do we think about tattooing being illegal in Korea? 3. Then what should be done about this? Today we're going to be talking about tattooing here in Korea. And Ki-hoon, why don't you start us off by telling what you think about tattooing personally?
I used to be for tattooing, but now I'm just in a neutral kind of standpoint right now. But back in high school, when in Australia, it was considered a cool thing to have a tattoo, especially among guy friends, and it also gave out that perception of masculinity, because which many adolescents wanted, back in the day. Back in
your days,
yeah, back in my day. However, the main reason that I didn't get a tattoo was first because of the price.
Yeah.
It wasn't that cheap. It was quite expensive. Second, higher price to actually get rid of it. And thirdly, the pain you have to endure to actually get one. So life is already painful the way it is. Okay, anyway, there's been a case where someone wanted to erase 13 alphabet letters on their arm. So the person went through multiple laser treatments, 43 to be exact, and it cost more than $7,000 US.
And I hear erasing it hurts a lot too.
It hurts even more, and it left permanent scars. So for that person, it was a lose-lose situation. And lastly, tattoo isn't just like a sticker you can just peel off and rub out. So I think for me, I really didn't want to go out of my way to actually get one. And honestly, I don't regret not getting one back in the day.
I think people who are not for tattoos say they don't want to scar themselves while paying money, right? But what about you, Walter?
Well, I am for it because, as Ki-hoon said, the masculinity.
So
Wait, you have a tattoo? Show us your tattoo.
I do have a tattoo, but I got it when I was 18. So at a very young age, like you mentioned.
You wanted to be strong.
Guys, they just wanted to show that they looked cool. And now, as a 35-year-old, I think it was really silly. It makes no sense to me why it's still illegal when clearly it's sort of advertised all over social media. The shop owners don't hide the fact that they are tattooists either. So if you go into a salon, like you can get your eyebrows tattooed, which I only found out today is also illegal, right? So I think that this is just a law that the government have on their bottom of lists of things to do. So there hasn't been a lot of change, and there doesn't seem to be like anyone's really talking about it.
Right, and there's 2 reasons to that. There's social stigma and safety concerns. And to find out whether we even have this type of social stigma, we're going to have an OX quiz. It's been a while since we've done it. So I'm going to ask you guys 2 questions about what your perception towards tattooing is. And the first question I have is, if your significant other were to get a tattoo, would you be okay with it? Okay, Walter. Oh, you're already holding up your O. Why?
Well, I'd be very hypocritical to say to my partner, you cannot get a tattoo because I have one as well. But I would warn her that like it has to have meaning to it. Don't be like a stupid 18-year-old Walter who decided, I want to get a tattoo because it's cool. And so it's okay if they get it as long as it's meaningful or has some sort of
backstory behind it
or
something that touches the heart.
Exactly.
What about you?
For me, I think I'll be okay with it as long as it's not too visible where everyone can see it, like when she's wearing something, But if it's something like meaningful, symbolic to it, I mean, I would respect it, and as long as it's somewhere where only I can see.
Oh, okay.
If you know what I mean,
Now let's swiftly change it to the next question. What if your child decides to get one? You have a baby daughter.
Yes.
What if she grows up one day saying, Dad, I want the same tattoo as you?
Well, first I'd be like, oh, I didn't realize I raised such a silly little daughter. But no, obviously, again, as a person who got a tattoo, it would be hypocritical of me to say no. Again, I would give her the same explanation to my wife. It has to have some meaning behind it. Put it in a place where it's very tasteful rather than somewhere where it looks a bit silly or unprofessional in a way. But some people get, obviously, sleeve tattoos, which is fine. If she got a sleeve tattoo, that's okay. But I would really like her to think about what she wants to get rather than do, again, like me, and just get it because it's just a cool thing to have.
You would walk her through the pros and cons and the potential consequences.
Nice
what about you?
Nice to add. Since I don't have one, but let's say if my future wife did have one, I would just tell my kid to, you know, go to your mom, ask for her permission, and if you get one. And if my wife didn't have any tattoos, I would actually tell my kid to, you know, get it yourself, as in like make your own money. Find out yourself, like the consequences. I'll tell him or her, like, you know, it's not very safe. And like different issues. But if you really want to get one, you know, I'm not going to support you on that, like financially.
I think that's a really good way. And what really surprised me was that I don't think there's that much social stigma behind tattoos based on what you guys are saying here in the studio. But before here in Korea, if you had a tattoo, a lot of people would think that you're in very dark business.
Yes.
Yeah, like
especially men.
Especially men. But nowadays, it's more like a fashion trend. You can use it to express yourselves. But nonetheless, tattooing is still illegal in South Korea. That is when done by non-medical personnel. Would you like to tell us more about that?
Absolutely. So, you know, South Korea is the only country where tattooing is still illegal. Only doctors with medical license, like you said, can practice tattooing, and they can be fined up to $7,800
That's a
if
lot.
you do it illegally. Okay, and currently there are 20,000 tattooers here in Korea, but only a few actually have these medical licenses. So. At the same time, we're seeing more and more young people getting tattoos, and like we can easily see it. So I think the clash between the tattoo and the medical community is heating up more than ever. As on one side, it's called K tattoo now. You know how Koreans like
we love putting the K's everything. Yeah.
It's become very popular, where even like famous celebrities from overseas will come to Korea just to get a tattoo from these artists. So what they're saying is, you know, they should reform the law to keep up with the change in society and the general view of the public. But on the other hand, from the medical community, you know, they're saying, you know, with practicing tattooing without a license is violating the law, medical law, and it also causes a lot of threat to the general public health, and it causes a lot of like various skin diseases, and it exposes people to harmful chemicals that can be injected into blood vessels. So, and the health problem just goes on. So I think, you know, there are pros and cons.
Yeah, officials are worried about the safety concerns behind that. But nonetheless, we are seeing so many young people having tattoos in Korea. You mentioned briefly, Walter, like the eyebrows tattoo, the K-beauty tattoos. 13 million people in Korea have received it before.
Oh, wow.
Which just shows the demand is booming. But that is why a lot of people are demanding that we legalize tattoos in the first place. Like, nonetheless, even though there are some safety concerns, legalizing it would actually bring up more measures to help people get safe tattoos. Now, would you like to tell us more about what most millennials and Gen Z think about that?
Yeah, sure thing. So if we take a look at the screen, an outright 81% are for getting tattoos, while only 13% are against them, with 5% voting other, which in my mind thinks that actually they're more on the yes side because they don't care whether you like it or you get one or you don't. I mean, South Korea isn't exactly being the most discreet country when it comes to illegal businesses. We still know there are illegal bars, etc., running, and no one has really reacted to those either. So it doesn't feel like this thing is going to change anytime soon.
But it should. We're seeing so many people get tattoos, and as Q mentioned, if there's safety concerns, there should be regulations and safety measures.
Right.
And before we continue our talks, we're also going to hear what our viewers had to say. We asked if they have a tattoo and how they feel about them. Take a look at the screen to find out what 3 of them had to say. So, Say Noel said, I'm 63. I plan to get my first tattoo soon. I haven't always wanted one, but even old dogs can enjoy new experiences. Love that. Natsa said, I'm not opposed to them, but I personally cannot find something so meaningful to me that I want it permanently ingrained on my body. Power Ranger said, I have 2 tattoos, a Chinese symbol meaning little brother, and a Power Rangers lightning bolt on my right arm. Now, thank you so much to our viewers who shared their experience. We're now going to include an actual tattoo artist from Korea in our talks to find out what she has to say on this issue. She'll be joining us live right after this. We're now going to include an actual tattoo artist in our talks. It's Julie Kim. Welcome, Julie.
Hi, nice to meet you.
All right, Julie, I'd like to ask you the first question. If you could briefly introduce yourself. I hear you decided to go to the States to actually learn tattooing professionally. So what got you hooked on tattoos in the first place?
So first time, it's actually a funny story like you mentioned, saying you don't have money. So I was a university student, I didn't have money. So I was like, since I can do art, why not do it on myself? So I self-taught myself in the beginning. And then the circumstance I'm in right now that I get to travel too much because I'm married to a military man. So first I studied makeup, but since I can't go anywhere I want to go as a city to do makeup, so why not do tattoo since I was doing it as a hobby? So I'm going to class and learning more about it. And obviously in Korea is illegal and prices and stuff is very different from each artist, but in America is a good paycheck as well. And also other thing I thought about was since I majored in makeup, tattoo is another way of like expressing yourself on body work. So I thought it was very interesting.
And Julie, before Walter asks you the second question, I have one more for you. You mentioned classes. What do you learn there? Like, are there any guidelines to making sure that these tattoos are done safely as well?
Yeah, they do. They talk about all the like safety and also like blood, like how it can transfer like different disease by needle to needle. So those kind of all health and safety. They teach everything about it. So I think it's very necessary to learn all that kind of stuff.
And you learn about dermatology too, right? Like different types of skin, stuff like that. Okay.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to have to look you up because I am thinking about getting this covered. So maybe before you go to the States, we could have a little meeting about what we could do. But what do you think about it being illegal for non-medical staff to tattoo customers here in Korea?
So I have a lot of like opinions about it, but I think it's necessary to have that license system because like in America, you have to take like exams, which is like practical exams and also non-practical exam, which is health procedure and all that kind of stuff. And also it will help to protect customers and also tattoo artists because there's a lot of cases in Korea customer wants to get a free tattoo. So they go to like good tattoo artists and they'll threaten them, be like, this is illegal. So you have to give this for free. So it will protect tattoo artists from those kind of customers and also protect customers from getting health and safe like tattoos from them also.
Okay, Julie. Then how should the tattooing culture move forward?
So there's two different opinions about it because I have talked to my tattoo artist that I constantly goes to. He doesn't want it to be legalized because taxes, he doesn't want to pay tax because since they're not
understandable,
working,
understandable. Yes.
Yeah, but I think they should move forward like how America is giving a license, which is you need to go to professional schools or go through apprenticeship, and also you need to take a test and exam so that way customer can be safe and also tattoo artists can be safe as well. And also like I even found out like the other day, like you said, like the makeup tattoo is illegal as well. So if government can give a license like that, it can be more open to other people's and easier to access, and also they have a more price range rather than like any tattoo artist can just call the price and that's the price.
That's so true. Right, we'll see a flourishing industry for sure, because already we're seeing, as Kyun mentioned, celebrities abroad come to Korea to get these K tattoos. Might as well better regulate it with better legislation so that tattoo artists and customers can both be safe. Thank you so much, Julie. It was a pleasure to talk to you today and hear your experience and your insights.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie.
Thanks, Julie.
All right, and now I'd like to wrap up our discussion for today by asking you guys to add your own 2 cents on what we should do about legalizing tattooing here in Korea.
You know, this law hasn't changed for 30 years here in Korea, and I think a lot of things have happened during those 30 years, like social stigma as well. So I think it's time for South Korea to be on the same page as every other country around the world to legalize tattooing. But at the same time, they should set forth, specific health and safety guidelines and regulations, so the general, health of the public is not at risk.
All right, what about you, Walter?
Well, I'm all for making it legalized. I mean, I would tell 18-year-old Walter, you have to make your tattoo meaningful. There has to be a meaning or a memory attached to it.
It is
you silly
meaningful,
boy.
Walter. It is meaningful.
It is not meaningful. So
I mean, you look strong.
strong.
That's the only
intimidating.
thing. Thanks. But yeah, anyway, like I got a tattoo during a trendy period.
Yeah.
I kind of regret it. So yes, don't do it when a trendy period is happening. Do it because it means something to you.
And studies show that adolescents who receive tattoos actually end up regretting it. So it's definitely not an easy matter. It's not, as Kyoto mentioned, it's not like a sticker you can take off. So it requires a lot of attention. And in order for that attention to be poured, hopefully South Korea does see some legislation come forth. Now, we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Walter Lee
Lovely to be here.
and Park Ki-hoon.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We are
News Generation.
네가